And we're back. So last time we talked about do you need an employee? And this time we wanted to talk more about our actual hiring process because we kind of had a different philosophy for it, and I think it could be kind of interesting. Two things for people to hear both of those philosophies, and also to kind of see how they panned out, both of them. So why don't you talk a little bit more about how you started? We talked about the website that we used to find employees last time and stuff like that. So let's just talk about I think maybe where we want to start with is what we asked of them. What's that called when you the posting, right? The posting for the
Yeah,
job.
job post. Yeah, I mean, for me, I was looking for two specific people. I was looking for a personal assistant, and we can get into the various tasks that they were going to be responsible for. And I was looking for a graphic designer. For me, I was looking for a full-time 40-hour-a-week personal assistant and a part-time 20-ish hours a week graphic designer, although as we'll talk about, the hours per week was much less important to me with the graphic designer as opposed to the personal assistant. So for an assistant, what I needed was somebody to do the obvious stuff, emails, scheduling, make sure my calendar was right, and make sure that they reminded me of things. Obvious stuff that an AI can practically do at this point. We're getting pretty close to that. But there was a lot more involved. For me, a huge part of what I needed to hand off was social media scheduling and my weekly newsletters, because I run two of them, the scheduling and my weekly blog. And essentially what I wanted to be able to do was get to the point where all I have to do every week is the creative work. Write the blog, write the content for the newsletters, write the copy for the social media posts, and all of the different social media assets, the video clips, all that stuff would be taken from the creative work I'd already done. My podcast that I've already done, videos I've already produced, speeches I've already given. So I just wanted to get everything that wasn't the creative work, the stuff that actually has to be me, out of my hands. And so that was kind of a tall order, and I had to be willing to train somebody, because the odds of finding someone who knew how to work Divi inside WordPress to do a blog and also work with Buffer for scheduling and also knows how to use Acuity for this and that, the odds of finding someone who already knew how to do the exact 5, 6, 7 specific things I needed it was going to be low. I needed somebody who understood generally and had a really good work ethic and could learn very quickly. And that's what I found.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Yeah, I'll talk about what I needed too. I just needed an editor for my YouTube channel. And yeah, and that's all I did is I just made a job posting saying like, hey, here's an example of one of my videos I do. It's fast paced, it's mostly tutorials, some pop culture stuff, and and especially for my build, that there's a lot of footage. Like I've built with 100 hours worth of footage. A lot of that's time lapsed, which generally isn't too hard, but I wanted people to know what they were getting in for. And I did ask in my job posting that people be willing to do a test video, and if I send them footage. So I asked for people's real or really whatever examples they have of their work. And one thing I wanted to talk about, because this is really where we differed the most at, is you put in your lines of your job description a very specific prompt in there, okay? Which I didn't think about doing, 'cause I think I posted mine before yours. And then why don't you talk about what you did there?
Yeah, so I mean, this is just kind of like a silly little trick, but it was phenomenally important to me. About, I don't know, a third of the way down the job posting, not in an obvious place, at the end of a paragraph, basically, there I had one line that said, "Start your reply to this post with the phrase," and then I gave them a little phrase. And for me, I think it was, "I hear you," because heard, understood, and valued as part of my business, right? And it was just a single line that said, you must start the reply to this job post, or start the reply to this job post with the phrase, "I hear you." And the reason that I put that in both of the different job postings was because at a glance, when I was going through dozens and dozens, and you probably had the same thing, of these job postings, I could tell immediately by reading the very first line if this person paid attention to detail. And that was crucial to me because I run a bunch of businesses. I operate very quickly. I need somebody who can keep up with my ideas, where I have an idea today and I implement it tomorrow, and we iterate 3-4 times a day, and our plan for the day changes halfway through it because I had a different idea. I need somebody with attention to detail. And also because anybody doing my social media scheduling is going to be essentially interfacing with my public facing self, the version of me that shows up in front of the world, not just behind the scenes, like developing, like for you, like your guy's going to be behind the scenes editing videos that you have to okay everything before it ever gets out. If it gets out and there's a mistake, you already okayed that mistake, you saw it. But if somebody's going to be emailing my clients or prospects or colleagues to schedule stuff with them on my behalf, if they're going to be making posts on social media that's got my name on it, essentially, I need someone who has a phenomenal attention to detail. So yeah, I put that in there, and I'd say 20% of them did not have that phrase, and it made it really easy for me to just delete it, not even read it, just
I'm
skim past those.
surprised that it was that you even got that many. I would have thought 20% did do it.
No, about 80% of them did it. Yeah.
That's great. See, that really surprises me. And hearing you explain it this way, I have a lot less to argue with, because I think at the time when we had this conversation, I was under the impression that we were looking for the same. I thought we were both looking for a video editor. Okay. And I'm not going to necessarily say that you shouldn't do that for a video editor, but at the time, my thought was, these video editors, they can sometimes be hungry for work. And a lot of times when people are looking for a video editor, these people have been looking for gigs all the time. A lot of the time, it's the first person there. So they have their reply email ready when they see a good gig. And I could tell that a lot of what I got was that. And that didn't necessarily, I know that's not what you're looking for, especially with that kind of high touch type of a product you're looking for. But for me, it's just like, it was really more so a matter of their portfolio. And I saw a lot of trash portfolios. I mean, especially, I probably should have, and realistically, making sure that they saw one of my videos, because some of the submissions I got for demos, but then again, if that's all they have, that's all they have. What are they going to do? Send me nothing? So I kind of see both sides too, but I got a lot of just videos of B-roll to music. I'm like, just putting anything to music isn't really going to help me have an idea at all. If you're going to work out with me, especially if you have anything tutorial related. I think that would have been very clear based on, even though I didn't particularly ask for that, though I should have, because of something else you said about the genie thing, which maybe we can get into that, because I think that's a really fun tip. Is that something you want to get into real quick?
Yeah, I mean, I'll pass this along from my business coach. So this was when I was hiring. My business coach this year has hired many, many times, and his advice to me was, when you're working with a virtual assistant, somebody who's not in the office with you, like in a traditional world, somebody who's in some other country, some other state, some other part of the world, he said you have to think of your virtual assistant like a genie, which is to say that whatever you ask for is exactly what you will get. And so he said, anytime they give you something or complete a project and it's not what you wanted, he goes, I assure you it is what you asked for, because all they want to do is make you happy. They want to keep their job. So they just want to make you happy, which means they're going to try to give you exactly what you want, and they are not going to try to interpret it. And so that means you have to be incredibly clear on what you want. And so maybe I have a great example of this, but maybe you can take over with what happened to you.
Oh yeah, I'd love to hear your example too. Mine's gonna be. I did the exact same thing. And you'd already warned me about that, and I have been trying to be very careful. But I did this one video where, again, I have to do all the puppet stuff, where I wanted to be. I put myself on one side of the screen, and I did a little bit of a gag, okay, and then came over here on this side with the puppet to do a little thing, so I could edit it together to look like I was talking to or interacting with this puppet. And I just said, I'm going to do it over here, and then just cut the side over here, and then edit it together. That's all I said to him, because I give my notes to the camera, and that's what my editor uses. And he did the most bizarre thing in the world. It was he like cropped out the character into a circle and had it like float by or something. And like, well, clearly I wasn't specific enough. Okay, I really wasn't. I wasn't. I knew I wasn't. But this is the kind of relates closer to what you're saying. I said, oh, I know I want it to be a split screen. Him on this side, this on this side. And that's what I asked for. He said, okay. And then he gave it back to me. And it was like a Zoom call, like a box over here and a box over here. I'm like, why would you think? And then I Google split screen, and that's technically what a split screen is. And I was thinking split the screen. What I actually wanted, I think the phrase is like to crop masking and to crop. Yeah. And then it's just like, I realized honestly it was just literally a 2-second skit in like a 15-minute video. I just did it myself real quick. I said, just slip this in there. And then now he knows what I meant to. So then next time I can say, hey, just like I did here. And then he'll be like, oh, okay, of course. So that was just kind of a funny little thing. Yeah, he gave me exactly what I asked for. I just asked wrong.
That's it. And you know what's so interesting is that even though I am not new to delegating, I've worked with and collaborated with lots of people over the years. So have you, in many ways. But having employees is very different from having collaborators, from having colleagues, from having teammates. These are employees, which means, again, they're only going to do what you ask them to, and they're going to try to do it exactly the way that you asked for, which has forced me, as somebody who prides myself on clarity, I literally, as a coach for other people, train people on being clear with their communication, with their language. But it's made me even more clear. I thought I was an unbelievably clear person, and I think I am, but it made me even hyper, where I would go, I could not have made this more clear. And then I send it off, and then 10 minutes later, I get a question back. Did you want this or this? And I go, I wasn't clear enough. If there's a question, I wasn't clear enough. And it's great that she asked, because that's part of the training. Is when I was interviewing for people, one of the things I said was right up front in the interviewing process, I don't expect you to get this all right. I don't expect you to read my mind. I don't expect you to not make mistakes. That's ridiculous. You're not me, and you're going to be trying to be me. So it could take, I said I expect it to take months, if not longer, for you to get all of the kind of things that I do off of my plate the same way that I do them. So I was like, anytime you have a question, even if you're a little unsure, ask. I'm not going to think that you're incompetent for asking me. I'm going to think you're really smart for asking me, because then you don't give me something wrong 3 days from now, and then we have to double back and waste a whole bunch of days. You're not sure? Ask. I'll give you the answer, and all I ask is that you never ask me the same question twice. Learn it the first time I give you the answer, right? That's it. And it's worked phenomenally well.
Yeah. No, that's great. I'm working on that second thing a little bit, because I kind of feel like I am, unfortunately, it's still a little early. It's been a month, but maybe that's long enough. I'm giving some of the same notes again. I think I realized what the problem is. I got to ask him. I want to find a nice way to ask him, because I think he's not watching it before he sends it to me. I think he's just sending it to me and waiting for my notes, when there's stuff in there that is like, I already gave you these notes every single time. Like, do another pass through before, or look at it, because I just got I gave notes on one, and then he like turned off tracks to edit it, and then he forgot to turn some of the tracks back on, and then he just sent it to me with the edits. I'm like, now there's different problems, and I just gotta find a good way to ask him. I should just ask him. please watch it before you send it to me.
Well, that's one thing, but what I've found has been unbelievably useful is I've made tons and tons and tons of workflow videos or workflow documents. So what I've been doing is every single time there's a task that is a repetitive task, something that I used to do all the time, or on a regular daily basis or weekly basis or whatever, that now the VA is taking over, I do it once, and I screen record or film, and I narrate the entire thing. Go, here's what I'm doing, you go into here, then make sure to click this button, don't forget to check this thing, then you do this, this, and this, and then before you're done, go back through these 6 steps again, and I just narrate me doing it with a screen share in real time. I do no editing on these videos, I just do it, and then when I'm done, with a screen recording rather, you said screen share earlier, or split screen, with a screen recording, and then when I'm done, I upload that to our shared drive folder in a folder called workflows. And I say, and the next time that that task has to be done, I go, hey, you're doing this task now. Go watch workflow video, whatever it's called, before you do it, and let me know if you have any questions. And what it means is she gets it right the first time, almost every time, because I showed meticulously the process I go through. And if she ever is confused or forgets, she doesn't have to ask me anymore. She's got the video to watch without ever bothering me. You can do the same thing if there's like you can figure out, is there a series of like 10 things you check before you export a video? I bet you don't know what they are off the top of your head, but I bet if you edited your own video again, you'd realize that there's like 8, 9, 10 things you always check by instinct. Write those down into a document, upload that document, and say, never send me a video before you've checked these 10 things.
Yeah. Yeah, that's something I should do too, because the other hesitation I have, a lot of what you're saying is making sense too, but also having someone who's an editor, like this guy, even though I used to edit my own videos, he is a better editor than me. He knows editing better than me. So in a way, parts of it are like, I started off with the mentality of who am I to tell this guy how he should edit it? He's using a different program than me. He's a better editor than me. Like and again, I think what you just said at the end though is the answer of just like giving this checklist. Make sure it has this before I get it. And I think that's the answer. Because the other thing is too, which we were talking about earlier, is on the other hand, even though there are some things that I wish were smoother, this or that, but again, like we talked about, I mean, with the rate that I'm paying too, it's like, even with things not being 100% perfect, it's still a great weight off my back as far as the lift that I was doing before. So then on the other side, I'm thinking, Adam, are you just being a whiner? Right?
No, because it's not, what we talked about last time. The rate you're paying is low to you, but it's not to them. It's a very fair rate to them because of the culture and because of the price difference, the American dollar and all that stuff. So you're paying a fair rate. So no, I don't think you're being a whiner at all. And if they think that they're doing too much work for what you're paying, they can stop doing it and tell you that they need more money to do that work. Like I've done in the past with clients that booked a certain thing, and we get into it and they go, well, actually, can you this? And maybe you can customize that. And maybe we can add this thing. And at some point you go, time out. Here's what you paid for. Here's what we agreed to. You're asking for customization. That was a different package. So either we move forward with what you already paid and the thing we already agreed to, or, or you pay more for the customized package. You don't get to slip that in. Whatever. The point is, if he's doing it and he's happy with what you're paying, and if you feel like maybe you're asking for too much, you can ask. You can say, am I asking for too much? Are we going back and forth too many times? Is this taking longer?
I should say, because now that it's been a month, I should say, like, hey, we've been doing it for a month. There's a lot of things that I really like about this, but I feel like we're doing too many revisions. What can I do to make it? Yeah, that's exactly the conversation.
Bingo. Yeah, what can I do to help you make less, expedite this process? What can I do so that we don't need to go back and forth more time, so that it takes you less time to produce these videos, that you use less time on these videos? Because him doing revisions is wasting his time too, not just yours.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. That's why I thought some of those things would end up going faster too, because like, I almost feel a little bad asking for another revision. Like, oh, like this, like you fixed what I asked, but now the audio was off on this layer, and now I was like, can you turn it back on and do it again? It's like, oh god, I feel like I'm nagging. I wish I know I'm not. I'm a softie. Dude. I'm a softie.
Yeah, no, I mean, and there's a little bit of a difference. So I'm thinking about my graphic designer, and you're paying per video. I'm paying a part-time salary. So I'm paying X amount of dollars per month for 20 hours a week of work. And essentially what we agreed to was, it's not by the project. It's essentially 20 to 25 pieces of micro content per week, or 20 hours a week of work. I don't care if it actually takes you 20. If you can get all 20, 25 pieces of micro content done a week in 10 hours, it only takes you 10, but I'm happy with all of it, great. I don't care. Because that's roughly what I'm looking for.
Well, that's kind of how we started our conversation too, because actually we had the conversation with, which made it nice, because like I don't want tracking hours. It can just be it's a pain for them, it's a pain for me. So just having a set rate, it's a weekly rate, really what it is, but I just pay them after delivery of the video. So it kind of turned into like a price per video. But yeah, at the end of the day, same thing, because for the rate that we have, I think it's like I'm paying for like 15 hours worth of work, and I'm sure he's doing it in less, which is, again, it's fine as long as I get what I needed for a price that I'm happy with too. I'm fine for them to be him to make as much as he can. And one thing I do like about him too, because we're friends on Facebook, is he's a creator too, which is like really, I really like that, at least for what I'm doing. It kind of I just love seeing other people with drive that are doing their own thing too. So the gamer,
man, I will I will say, it's been almost 2 months now that I've been working with the graphic designer, and about a month and a half I've been working with, a little over a month, maybe a month and a half, I've been working with the personal assistant. And I don't know how I did anything for the last 10, 15 years that we've been doing this without people helping me. I cannot believe I was doing all those things on my own. What it's done is it's allowed me to double or triple my output, as you were saying about yours, which is that I basically have 2.5 me's now, right? I all the stuff I used to do, like somebody, maybe it was you, when I first said I need a 40-hour a week full-time assistant. Maybe it was you, but somebody asked me before I hired them, they said, do you really have 40 hours a week worth of stuff to give somebody else? And I was like, I have 3 people's worth of 40 hours a week to give. I've been doing so many full-time jobs myself for my business for so long. It was crippling, and it was crushing, which is what kept happening to me, as you know, and anybody who's been watching for the last year, our conversation knows, is I would do a new project. I'd be really happy with it. It would start working. I'd start to get some momentum, some traction, and then I would stop that project cold because there was some other project that needed my time, and I couldn't do both. It was always that I have to stop doing something to do something else. Now, find something that works, and it's going well, getting some momentum, hand it off to somebody to keep doing it, and I can take on another new project. Now I'm doing both of those projects. Now I can level up for real. Like by the end of this year, I will almost definitely make my graphic designer full-time, and I bet you by midway through next year, by mid-2022, I will have another full-time person helping me, another 40-hour week. I think I'll have 3 full-time people by mid-2022.
It's so funny.
Never going back.
Some of my other friends that are content creators about this too, and then they say a couple excuses that I get. One is, oh, but I love editing. I don't want to hand that off to somebody too. And then one thing that I just say is like, yeah, I love it too. I also love not doing it, right? So that is what much as again, it's different. Like, I love editing, but I don't love to have to edit and have to edit every single week. Like it's just nice to just edit the things that I want to do, or do the little extra things and things like that. So that's been a big thing.
But here's the thing, and this I said the exact same thing before I hired anybody to my business coach, who was the one pushing me after years and years of different people telling me to hire. I kept having those excuses, same excuses. Couldn't get myself to do it. For whatever reason, this was the year. I think I was just ready for it, and then this business coach said to do it, and I was like, I was ready for it this year, so he just happened to be the one that convinced me. But one of the things I said, I love editing. I love editing my podcast. It's one of the things I actually enjoy in my work, even though it's time consuming. I don't want to hand off editing. And he said, why would you hand off editing? I said, well, I don't know. I don't want to hand off editing. He said, that's not the point of hiring. The point of hiring somebody is to take over the tasks that you don't like doing but have to be done, so you have time and energy to do the things that you like. So other people...
in the last one too, but my question is to you, do you always love doing it?
I really do. Yeah, I really do.
It's fine. And again, I find I love like obviously the ending part, like the especially with a lot of footage, like all the compressing, all this, like that's just grueling. I love like the last 10%, like that. And you know what? If that's what I have to give up to be able to do what I actually love more, because I love making the videos more than I like editing them. So that's a big thing. But I was gonna say the other thing that some other content creators have told me too is they're like, yeah, but I have a certain style and they might not get my style. And then I have two things to say to that. First of all, you gave great advice about people how they could potentially be able to gain your style by doing those workflow videos, which is a great idea. But the thing that I like to point out is just like your style is like to a lot of people, and a lot of people will hear this and they're gonna say you're wrong, Adam. Okay, a lot of times that style thing is only important to you, not to your audience as much. And also too, like one thing I'm finding, because I gave my editor almost no guidance, right, on purpose, because I don't want to handhold someone. I want them to put their own style. If I see something I don't like, I'll say it. But he's adding this flair that I never would have added, that I think adds a lot of production quality and stuff, and like doing things I never would have done. And I think it's for the better. And how else are you going to discover things like that? Like you don't know what you don't know, right?
And what I love about they might not get my style right, that is absolutely true. Nobody will be able to do your style exactly like you do, but your style might not be the best style for your videos.
Yeah, that too.
Just because it's your style doesn't mean it's right. Doesn't mean it doesn't even mean it's good. It just means it's your style. And there's a very good chance that by having somebody else edit them, by the way, I would hand off editing of my talking head videos. All of the talking head videos I make, I don't think my voice needs to be in that edit. That when I'm trying to convey information, tell a story, like in terms of this, like talking head, where I basically just got to cut stuff out or zoom in, zoom out. I don't think I need to be editing those. I love editing my long form podcasts because I do think that in the long form podcast conversation, what I choose to cut out, what I choose to keep in, how long I choose to let the pauses between sentences stick around. Sometimes I cut them shorter, sometimes I don't. That is my voice in the narrative that I'm trying to tell, and I care about that there. I would totally hire an editor and may well hire an editor at some point
Also,
to
you're
do
writing a
talking head.
book about these conversations. So even just being able to listen to the conversations that intently through the process of editing them just gets you. I mean, this is again, these conversations are your business. So it's very important to, you'll probably discover things that you're very present in your conversations. So you probably don't miss too much, but sometimes it can just probably resonate in a different way.
Oh, you miss a ton, even no matter how present you are. You actually it's the more present you are, I feel like the more you miss, actually, to be honest, because if you're staying really in the moment with somebody, you're like here with them in this moment on this sentence with what they're saying right now. It's really hard to see the bigger picture of the conversation.
I've been telling my wife that forever. I'm saying I'm hyper present. I'm so hyper present. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. No, it's true.
And not putting it all together. Yeah. That's funny.
Yeah, no, it's true. So no, I mean, for me, going back and doing the full edit of a 45-minute conversation, it's incredibly valuable to me, because I realized there were things that I don't even remember I said that I'll go, oh man, I didn't remember I said that. That was a good bit. I'll turn that into a blog, or I'll save that for a future speech, or whatever, something else. Yeah, no, it's really useful to go through the edit. But yeah, I would love to hire an editor for my talking head videos, and then I could pump out a bunch more of them, because like I haven't made a single new talking head video on my main YouTube channel since I launched this season of my podcast, because I'm buried making the podcast. So, but if all I had to do was film it, just talk for 10 minutes to the camera and send the footage off to somebody and just go make this into a video, that I could do, and I probably will by the end of this year.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. No, yeah, again, yeah, this was great. I think we gave some good advice. At least showed some of our stumbling things, and some things that worked well for us. So if anyone else is kind of going through this process, we'd love to hear about your experience too, and hopefully this has given some value. Happy 1-year anniversary, Brian. We've been doing this for a year now. We took a small hiatus for for here and there, and it's little breaks here and there. But we've what are we at? Like almost 30 episodes in a year, so that's pretty good.
Yeah, most of the breaks have been since I had a baby, so to
Yeah,
be
that
fair.
was we had quite a stint there, but happy
Yeah,
to be back. Great, cool.
yeah, for sure.
Well,
Cool. Well,
on to the next
on to the next
project.
project.